What's up guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today I'm going to be making a hip hop beat from scratch on the OP-1. I'm going to show you the entire process, walk you through it, and then also bring the tracks into my DAW and process them further there and show you how I go about that. So to start things off, I'm going to pull up some drums. I've got a drum kit here. That is a bit loud. And make sure my click is ready to go. So this drum kit is from Sammy Jams. Downloaded this for free. First thing I want to do is turn this down a bit, because later on I'm going to compress this. So that's kind of the feel I'm going for. So what I'm going to do is just record until I get something usable. And pro tip, if you hold down record and then trigger a note, the recording will start and the note will trigger at the exact same time, which is super useful. So here we go. And the goal here is to go for that kind of J Dilla swing where the snare hits just a little bit earlier than you expect, but not so early that it sounds off. It's not aligned to the grid at all, but in a pleasant way. So I think I got something good with these last couple bars. Not really feeling that kick, especially the way the clip cuts off and leaves that little popping sound, so we'll find another kick. So this little section right here is what I want to keep. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this. I'm going to just drop it in 4 times for a 4-bar loop. Set my in point, and I'll have that other stuff just kind of hanging out there for backup. I've got 6 minutes of tape. It's a lot more than I'll use, so why not? So let's go ahead and try to find a kick. Maybe I'll keep the kick simple so I can have the bass line be a little more out there. The bass line supplies the rhythm much more than the drums do. So let's just record in a couple of simple kicks. That's the little section right there. So here's our new loop. I'm gonna start a new track here. I want plenty of flexibility going forward to be able to mix this. So let's pull up a synth of some sort. I've got a bunch of presets on here, but I'm guessing I'm going to be modifying whatever I find pretty heavily. This might be a start. Get rid of the release, or at least dramatically shorten it. So now that'll be a lot grittier. That could work. What we could do, try putting the cow on it, because everyone loves the cow. Want to do a descending. That's working for me, so let's try and record that. Loop you. I'll have to do some work to that in post because it's pretty muddy right now, so I'll probably cut some lows, add some distortion and whatnot, but we'll get there. And I'll probably also sidechain that to the drums. But once again, we'll get there. That's not really something you can do directly on the OP-1. So let me try to find another synth. This is a self-made patch. More cow. That's kind of tight. Maybe mimic what the bass line's doing. Because I like that little arpeggio thing going on. Let me just try and record that, see how that sounds. Almost feel like we need more in the drums department, so let me come back to that. Make sure I'm on track 4. Oh, that's the snare. That's what I need. Okay, are we on track 4? Yep. So while I'm at it, let me just go elsewhere in the track. So that way I keep everything as separate as possible, so I'm as flexible as possible while working in post. What I really want in life is some kind of like tambourine sample would be kind of tight. There we go. So what I might do for this one, so it's like super straightforward, is just program it in. So Shift. Come on. Then go back to the regular drum view. It's like a really painful frequency if you pitch it down too much, so I gotta be careful about that. Probably have to do some kind of surgical type EQ. So what I'm gonna do now is copy over like one of the elements, so maybe just the bass line. Drop that back in its original spot, drop that in here. So now I can keep building other synth elements on top of it on these other tracks and then just kind of separate them out after the fact. Slow down that LFO. Sounds like Pac-Man dying. That might work as a background element. Let's try it. And keep going with that. A lot of sound design on the OP-1 comes down to trial and error. Because these synths and effects do not work in a very like traditional way. So you gotta be willing to just twiddle knobs until something sounds cool. I kinda like that, kinda spacey. You know what I might do? I might just record a couple of hits and then retime it in post. Just let that ring out and then come back to it later. I think this is a pretty good starting point, especially for how quickly it came about. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is export these tracks as WAV files, bring them into Reaper, and I'll pick it back up from there. All right, so I've got the tape tracks all separated out and loaded in here. So the first thing you probably notice is that it's a complete mess. So what I wanna do, first of all, this is my snare, right? I like the second half of this, so I'm gonna copy this over. I like how that interacts with the clap. So I'm gonna bring this up here, isolate the drums. Got that swing, so let me start processing this. Bring out some high end. Usually stuff that comes out of the OP-1 tends to be a little on the lo-fi side. So we're gonna bring out its attributes. And so one plugin I've really been digging lately is VHS by Baby Audio. It's got this like saturation that I'm especially interested in. Brings out the grit. So let's leave that for now. Come back to the snare. That could definitely use more high end. Want that snap to come out. And speaking of snap, do another Baby Audio plugin. They sent these over, full disclosure, but they're not like sponsoring this video. I just like their stuff. Turn that up. Bring out that attack. So here's Got quite a bit more punch to it now. So moving on to the bass. This is gonna need a bit of work before it's kind of up to my standard here, although I definitely like where it started out. First of all, that extra low one's gotta go. So in this case, one thing that might be cool is to bring back VHS, because another thing that it can do is like a chorus effect. So here's without, with, add some heat. I like where that's going. So now what I'm gonna do is sidechain this to the kick, and in this case, I'm actually gonna do this manually via crossfades because I am too lazy to figure out how to route an actual sidechained compressor in Reaper. Or for that matter, LFO tool, which is like my go-to. So every time there's a kick, I'm just gonna go in, split this, kind of line this up visually towards the tail of the kick. And the effect will be that sidechain pumping that we kind of expect from stuff that sounds like this. And I'll do the same for the snare hits, but with a much gentler curve. So this does a couple of things. It lets the kick really punch through, so it doesn't just get lost in a mess of low end. And it also emphasizes kind of the rhythmic elements that are going on here. So let's hear how that sounds. Come on. That's much more like it. And while I'm thinking about it, let's bring on some mastering. One thing I usually bring on is an OTT with just a little bit of depth. Here's none. Here's all. That's obviously too much. And maybe one more Super VHS. That's obviously way too much. And then just put the mix just a little bit. I'm not trying to create phasing issues for days, but I do want to kind of make everything pop a little bit. And then finally a limiter. Cut some low end. This could use some reverb. Be kind of nice. Just a stock Reaper reverb. Put in a space. That's definitely getting somewhere. That's tight, actually. So, what are you? I think that's the tambourine. So I said I needed to do some EQ on this, and that definitely holds true. Find that nasty frequency. I think I cut that too much. Reverb. And maybe I can pan this a bit in conjunction with something else. Maybe this kind of video game element. So my vision for this was for this to be kind of a percussive, like a swung percussive element. So I'm going to copy this, paste it over here, and then hold down Shift so I can drag it independent of the grid and put it a little after halfway through, so you get a little shuffle. Pen this left. These two elements should balance each other out. It's subtle, but I like the effect that it has. So finally, we've got this little warbly guy over here. That's definitely taking up too much space in the frequency spectrum, so cut a whole bunch of low end. And what treatment should I give this? What does this need? Reverb's a good start. And this is something I'm probably just gonna push way into the background. Or maybe even not use layered in this main section, but use it in kind of a verse section. I'm probably not gonna be able to get anyone to actually rap over this, although that would be awesome. But let's start getting at least somewhat of an arrangement going. Maybe just keep that warbly element. And maybe even not intro with the snare right away. So then we'll bring in your left and right percussion. And what I can do as well is make a duplicate track of my main drums and then filter that down a little bit. What I want to happen is have the bass play twice by itself and then twice with that octave up lead. So here's our beat. And if I was to go from here, I would start building up verse sections, and maybe I would even spend some time adding more elements for some kind of B section. But as it is, I like where this is at, so here's the full beat. So there you have it. That's the beat that I've been able to create in this short amount of time. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, I'd love to have you hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more OP-1 beat making, you can click or tap up over here. And if you'd like to see some more wonky hip hop making, but on a different portable device that's way more affordable, you can click or tap down over here. Peace.